Hello, Sebastian.
Hi. Hello, Dan. How are you?
I'm good. How about
Good.
you?
Uh, oh, good. Thanks. Hey, thanks.
I take.
Hello, hello. Loud. Oh yeah. Sorry, boy. Let me add your. I'll fix that.
Thank you. Hey everyone.
Hi, Bora.
Hey.
I think that's because of my end. I used my personal email before, and probably that's whitelisted. If I could change that to the work email I have,
Yeah.
I
I'm
think
gonna
that
add,
fixed it.
I'm gonna add both.
Thank you.
Yeah. One, two, three. Well, three is not enough. Four. Stand correct. All right. Sebastian, I apologize. I know we didn't get a chance to review it directly. Any questions or issues you have with the agenda?
Not at all.
Okay.
We'll look from side. Don't know. I don't think everybody's agree with the agenda. But from a side, I'm fine.
All right, giving it just another minute here. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6. Cool. So 6 is probably good enough for us to get started for now. We will hope that a few others catch up. I know that Dominic let us know that he won't be able to make it today. Still waiting on, looks like Bernard a new day. See if I can't ping them real quick. Actually, I got this all over the place. Hang on. Okay. Cool. All right. I think I lost. Did I close that window? No, I did not. Okay. Running through a whole bunch here, guys and gals. Might have both. Okay. So, welcome to the Open Source Committee meeting, June 25th, 2026. Thanks everyone for joining us. looks like we might have a bit on the agenda, but we may not. So if we get some time, we can bring you up. Ben or Luke, if you guys have something that's pressing. Ben, I know you had to leave early last time. Just let me know and raise a hand, and we'll see if we can't get you up sooner. But we'll kick this off as normal. We're going to start with the developer advocate check-in. Real quick, just as a header on this, if you were not aware, the developer advocates are currently in their last month of contracted engagement. I have asked, or there is the ask for them to continue to hold their title and contribute as they feel appropriate or as they feel they can. Although after the end of June, there is no standing contractual requirement for them to be providing support. It is my understanding they will continue to run the working group meetings at the very least. Obviously, we do need to work on some budget for a new cohort of the developer advocate program that's a little bit further down the agenda as budget discussions. But they are coming up on the end. They have already started moving stuff around on the project board. I know because I've gotten a ton of emails. So from actions, which we'll review in a minute, if you have not started to review any of what they've provided for work that they've done in Q2, now would be a great time to head over to open source office on GitHub, visit the project board, it's project 71, and leave some feedback and comments on what they've submitted. Just as a reference, when we compile the report from the OSC side of things, it's really important and beneficial to see input from committee members as to how you all are accepting of that. And while they still have what's going to come down to about 5 calendar days to work on things and get things submitted, it's really important to provide any feedback for additional information that you guys have. That way they can submit it within the appropriate windows. But yeah, let me pass it off to any of the developer advocates if they'd like to provide an update.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. This is Dan, developer advocate. So I think Tex has given all the updates I could give. But yeah, we are at the end of our contract, and this is Q2. We are at the end of Q2, so almost like the last month, and we are just submitting our last report. And yeah, we'll still maintain the developer experience sessions, but in the contract side, we are at the end, and we are submitting our last report in the project board in GitHub. Thank you.
All right, I do not see any other developer advocates here, so we will move on from that. We'll take a look at actions from the last meeting, just in case you all had not reviewed the minutes. Everyone was asked to take a look and review on the maintainer-retainer program candidates. I recognize now that action item is a little vague, so I do apologize. But if you were in the meeting or got a chance to watch it back, that's the ask was related to the maintainer-retainer program. I'm quite stoked. I have a timely DM. I can now confirm that all selected candidates for the maintainer-retainer program have signed their contracts, and anything that was signed today is just 1 day past what our provisional deadline was, so that's not going to cause any problems. We will get everything done within the next 12 months. So we have, let me actually just do the quick count here. That is 23 minus 3, so a total of 20. We have 20 people enrolled in set up for the maintainer-retainer program, selected, I should say. 6 of them have been enrolled previously. An additional 14 we will get enrolled. I'll get them enrolled probably here within the next week, and we'll really get going on that. What we've been doing for maintainer-retainer program is going to be a little bit different moving forward, because we will not be conducting any further interviews unless there's a decision taken by OSC to offer a shorter period. That case by case, or not really case by case. That should be decided if you all want to continue proliferating the program. We'll need to do some socialization with different core projects and obviously some marketing for positions. But this would all be if you guys are willing to offer a shorter term, being 6 months instead of 12 months. I do feel confident with 20 out of the originally proposed 45 to 50 that we were targeting is a good number for us to work with. So I don't want anyone to feel pressured like we have to do more, but we do have access to the Treasury funding, and we do have the ability to, as a committee, make a decision. I'm not part of the decision. I like to talk as a group here, right? You all have the ability to make that decision if you wish to continue to try to make more effort out of the program and out of the 2025 Treasury spend that we were awarded. So anyway, long topic, long conversation for one action item. There was another action item here to provide feedback on the DevX survey. I did not get a chance to follow up on this directly. I believe it may have been placed in the one of the developer advocate channels, which all of OSC has access to. If you have not seen it, this is likely provided within the Q2 feedback, and I will be trying to take a closer look at this to get this just on the Git book as it is, signed off from the developer advocates. And I will kind of put a hint or an indicator that says it is still pending approval from OSC for any other tweaks that might be needed. But again, as the developer advocate contract is coming up, if we need adjustments to that, we should try to get that done within their contracted days if possible. Contributions to the Intersect planning document. I did not see a lot of this over the last couple of weeks here. And I really do want to encourage you all to speak up and don't be afraid to cut me off. I'm perfectly happy to be cut off at any point during these meetings. Really looking for contribution from the committee. A lot of work that I do on the back end to kind of keep things moving, but at the end of the day, your voice is what we really want to hear. So I did see that Bernard had made some adjustments and kind of expanded on some thoughts there based on the instructions, but some input on some of the things that he's put in there would be really helpful. What is presented right now in the draft document is not everything that will go into the published format, because that'll have to be quite a bit shorter. But I will work with Sebastian on that, and please have a look is what I can say. I'll drop that link in the Discord channel in case you're missing it or haven't seen it, and we can go from there. Let's see here. I want to make sure I'm following up. There we go. Okay. Continuing on here, reviewing the developer advocate submissions. We talked about this already here, so please make sure to go and do that. That's going to be a continued action item here. Tooling proposals. So we still have money to spend, reports to do, awards, or money to be awarded under the tooling program. So if there are, I would imagine, critical tooling, I've been reached out to on the back end about things like tap tools, and I know there's a couple other projects that have mentioned some hardship. So if you have a personal connection to any of those, please don't hesitate to reach out and do encourage them to submit accordingly. I will, let me look right now, actually. See if can't open that in any tab. Okay, I will try to look at that separately here and see if I can pull up the details. See if there's anything new that's applied since before. But finish that on the action items here. Apologies if I'm running around. Last one here, submitting outstanding invoices. I don't know if those people are here in the meeting, but heaven forbid if you do have a travel invoice and it has not been submitted, please make sure to get that in. I believe we have most everything. I think there's just one committee member outstanding. The rest are community members, and I have reached out accordingly. Okay. So, next here is the planning Q2, Q3. So I gave this an agenda block. Let's talk about it a little bit. If you haven't contributed, please share what your thoughts are as far as, if you're not feeling comfortable or whichever. There is another option that you guys have as far as contributing here, and that is the committee collaboration board. So I'll pull that up as well. I apologize if I haven't provided this reference previously. Let's see. I'm also going to share this link in the Discord channel there. Okay, let's see here. Oh, budgets. Where are we at here? There we go. So you guys can see where we are here as far as the OSC plan. Just noticed that this Q2 event was in June, but it actually took place in May. So move that accordingly here. And maybe that's referring to the, I'll have to check that. That might actually be referring to the Q2 feedback event there. Sorry, I'm moving a whole bunch here. But there should essentially be goals that we put forth here. A big goal here as we go through Q3 is definitely going to have to be, close out on, put this in here, right? Close out 2025 Treasury spend. Which is paid open source model V1. Right, but there are a couple other goals that we can look at here as well. If you all were not aware, we do have we have not only the developer experience working group, but right now we also have the developer experience innovation working group. I encourage more OSC members to join over there as well, just to help us with what we have going on. That working group meets just once a month, so it's very not a huge commitment there, but there is definitely some growing expectation of work that we need to complete outside of that. We were lucky enough to have Bora elected to the committee here, and Bora is actually one of the lead developers or maintainers with the developer portal, which is a big piece around where that developer experience innovation is pushing there, right? So definitely want to make sure that you're a part of that conversation, and that is possibly one of the initiatives, as you may have seen in the Discord channel earlier this week as well. There's a co-focused initiative or a co-focus with GMC, which probably formulates one of these initiatives of what we need to do there as far as improving developer experience.
Yeah.
All right.
The entry point into the separate working group. I'm sorry, I'm not informed enough. Maybe where could I find this entry link? Could you help me find my way about it? Because I haven't received an invitation.
Or you're talking about the regular developer experience one?
No. This separate innovation working group that you were just talking about, right? That I should also try to take part in.
That was the meeting we had yesterday, boy. With Laura and
yeah,
and
all right.
This is editable. Any thoughts on initiatives that we should put in here, even as a temporary, or?
I was working on the document in the Google Doc. I tried to do my best putting there what's in my head related to Q2. I understand that some of the new members of the open source committee don't have some grasp of, they don't have some information about the Q2, right? That's not, but there are some key questions about Q3, right? That where the new open source members can provide some good insights about that. I put in the chat the general topics. The next week will be a series of meetings around Intersect meetings, right, between the committees. I'll be representing the open source committee, right? With all the So in the chat, I put the key questions they are asking you. We answer, right? Few the ones are related to Q2 and others are related to Q3. So I did my best, and Bernard do it the same. I think Reshma did some work there. Okay, that's Q2, but we need information, your perspectives of the whole committee. We need your perspectives and ideas about Q3. I think it's better depicted in the document. So yeah, that's in general terms what we need in this moment for next week, and it's related to the Q3 planning. Thanks a lot. This is the I was talking about the Google Doc I had in. You shared text in the open source.
Yeah, that's the one I have up currently.
Okay, thank you.
So again, there's been quite a bit of contribution by Bernard, and I guess maybe some others as well. I'd have to double check exactly what it is, but because we do need to get succinct here, we may just go with some of these titles. But if there's something you feel is really important and worthwhile for us to be putting forth in Monday's meeting, please come through and highlight. As could just select that and highlight it and say, hey, this is what we need to be speaking on that we achieved in Q2. I believe there's a Q3 section as well. So if there's something on the planning that you agree with or that's missing, if you agree with it, obviously highlight that for us to include. If there's something missing, please add that in. This will come together pretty quick in the next day or two here. So, any other questions on planning at the current moment? Okay. I will jump back to the agenda here. The next item up on the agenda is the budget discussion tweaks. I would hope that everyone's had a chance to see the comments that we had received. There's an individual Google Doc that we were working on in the background as far as responses. At the end of it there, looks like we had gotten a few more votes, so I did try to push that a little bit, but there was some feedback that came back from Intersect that I went just a little bit too far there. At the end of the day, it happened, but nothing was damaging overall. Long story short, our proposal at this current point did not go through. So based on the 5 programs that we had submitted there, which was continuing for the Developer Advocate Program, Maintainer Retainer Program, Tooling Sustainability Program, Travel and Events, which we're now calling Strategic Presence, and then the data reporting, data metrics and data reporting. Forget exactly what the title was there. From the current and new committee members, is there anybody that has an issue or concern with any of those items? Basically, if we were to resubmit, providing additional evidence where we can, is there anybody that's concerned about any of those programs? There was one feedback from the DREP that suggested that those programs should be applied for individually. I don't know if that makes sense because the paid open source model is a package deal, if you will. But I wanted to give some time here in the meeting for us to have some open discussion before we move to a more focused budget meeting where we actually get some details ironed out.
My opinion is that Cardano governance right now is a complex beast, right? It's really hard to forecast whatever decision will have any influence, whether it would pass or not. But I think many people are just more constrained about budget, the overall budget available in the Cardano budget season, rather than individual proposals and how much they're asking. So the separation of the work packages, I guess that request is stemming from the same thinking style. So separating what makes up paid open source model. So does the committee have the view that all 5 of these packages actually do make up paid open source model, or from my perspective, maintainer, retainer, and tooling of funding are the essential work packages here? That's just my perspective. Because I have the opinion that if a similar sized budget would be proposed again, it would just fail for the same reasons, or it could, highly likely. So without going for a leaner budget or less scoped work, I don't see how the general consensus would change.
I don't think the amount was really the concern as much as it was proof of what we'd done previously.
Yeah, but what was done previously is compared to how much dollars were spent on it. So the ROI essentially is what people want to see. So that is the two-way street. You either show better evidence or you ask for less. So probably the sweet spot is trying to meet it in the middle, both reducing scope and asking for less.
Okay. Anybody else have an opinion that way? I'm not trying to insinuate a fight or an argument. I want to hear from everyone. I'm not excited about doing it, but I will call everyone out if I need to.
Trying to clear my head.
Sure.
And I'd like to think, because this process is really hard. I agree with what this governance process is difficult, many things. But I'm trying to think on how the other people think, right? At least the more rational people thinks, not necessarily Utah, but other people that has some grasp of open source, right? Because when you go to this social media, you can read different kinds of opinions, right? And you can understand some positions. I'm agree with Bora. Maybe we can fraction the program in several sub programs. At the same time, I'm agree with Tex about, okay, maybe the budget was not the problem. It was about the evidence that the programs are working in some way and can get some. And in fact, I'm not sure return applies in this case. I'm not sure, because you can expect return from your public infrastructure in a city, or you can name the examples. Maybe we can make a better job delivering the message of what we are doing here in open source outside the proposal, independent of the proposal, and maybe people can start to understand better what we are doing here.
So I agree. Sorry, Sebastian.
Yeah, that's my initial thoughts. I'm trying to to increase the pod of ideas here.
I think the metrics are always a problem when you're not measuring something directly tangible. So you kind of derive or abstract away some concepts and make up stuff in a way. But maybe the open source committee can come up with metrics that showcase the trends. For example, in this meeting, there was one statement from text that said, last year we had 20, if I'm not wrong, correct me, 20 applicants to the maintain and retainer program. This year, the pool is much higher. So this means there was more better messaging, I assume, or better highlighting of the incentive model. And you could, in some way, explain this also with a metric. Oh, sorry. Maybe we just don't how I see many projects nowadays do it is that you land on whatever website or main source of information is, and there directly you try to distill the whole idea into 3 core metrics, or 2 or 3, right? Regardless how big of an idea you are pushing for. So maybe open source needs to come up with these 3 core metrics. Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be as concrete as, I don't know, like when it comes to protocols, you look at revenue or TVL or daily user counts, right? Like, not like these, but how many people we reached, how many projects was essentially surviving because of the efforts of this committee or the programs created from the efforts. This needs to be at the forefront of the messaging. So because many people, like, there is so much things going on that people barely have enough context or the ability to switch those contexts at this point. We have to distill it down.
Paul, go ahead.
Yeah, I also think we can a little bit pivot, in a sense that maybe we should be more concise in our mission, right? That we are into helping critical infrastructure to move on. And this is so important in this AI agents world, as we saw last week, I mean, with Yoroi and things like that. But we could also say that our scope is a little bit widening, for instance, by saying that we are going also to, for instance, accept those projects, try to finance security audits or, you know, things like that. Or we are going to help all these projects to have CLI premium support because AI agents are using them, things like that. And it of course will kind of widen the scope for the money we said we want to have, right? So in this sense, we are going to show that we've got a little bit more work to do, but we are more comprehensive. And maybe it would be also good to rationalize the projects chosen, why they are so crucial, what is the role of them to be critical in the Cardano ecosystem, and why they need kind of this, and why this kind of model helps them. So if this kind of messaging is there, maybe it would be, I mean, easily digestible for outside D-reps that are voting. I don't know, just food for thought, just, you know, in a favor of, I mean, slight repivoting, I would say. But of course, if I can said something finally, I completely agree with and second what Sebastian and Boras already said. So I want to repeat that. Thanks.
when I read the proposal in its current state, I have to be honest. The package, the program related to the reporting to, it's about building a kind of dashboard that can contain an inventory or inventory of projects, an ecosystem inventory of projects that in the framework of open source we have in the ecosystem, right? Maybe that's, in my opinion, I have the perception that that could be a good starting point, right? Create that kind of source of truth that people can go and start to understand what's the current state of the ecosystem in terms of open source. And from there, we can start a different conversation. Yeah. Thanks.
I think the biggest question why many people, or like sometimes I do also, right? Like can't pinpoint exactly why this is important is but we try to position the maintainer retainer program as a structure of how Cardano in general as an ecosystem can take care of its open source tech stack. Yet people alongside this ongoing program still see many open source tooling, either critical or not, still position themselves or proposing to the treasury that, hey, I need these funds. And they have been in the maintainer retainer program, or the responsibilities are of course not the same, because one proposal might be asking for future editions, and the second, like maintainer retainer, is just keeping it functional essentially. But this is a confusion. Why many people can't say, okay, like we funded this thing, this was supposed to already do this. If I still see some projects asking for money, or even saying for maintenance, then why wasn't those projects already included in the ecosystem-wide initiative we had funded under Intersect, or did it not do its job, right? Like this is the direct train of thought I would assume many have, which unfortunately says actually zero about the efforts from the committee. But I think this is just how people think.
So I think that's hitting a nail on the head there. Participation within the ecosystem in the programs offered by the Open Source Committee is a big piece of this, right? Just from a management perspective, yeah, I see the same things that y'all do, but people don't come to us. So that's something that was actually called out in a comment as well, was the marketing piece. But I guess I would ask the question, is marketing of our programs really one of the core problems that we have? I don't know that it is, but if it is, right, or if there's another issue, what exactly is it that's preventing or keeping these projects from coming to the OSC for support? And that's something that we have a responsibility to figure out.
Uday, you have your hand up. Do you want to jump in, or I can answer also my thought? Maybe I'll just do it. I like trying to talk in abstract is sometimes hard, right? Because not everything is so easily abstractable. But for example, in the recent budget season, we have seen TX5 team asking for multiple millions of ADA for maintenance, essentially for pretty big known and widely used software. Which I find valuable as well. And normally you would assume that if we are trying to position ourselves as the ecosystem structure to support these initiatives in the first place, it should have been under Intersect 2. But you can't, of course, force a vendor to choose that path. But still, it came down to, I assume, budgeting reasons, right? Like the open source office can't ask for such huge amounts of ADA to be able to accommodate these proposals. But then it still doesn't answer to many people in their mind. If some of those proposals didn't choose to go for the open source office route, how does that structure even function in the first place, right? Like, we are partly funding some of the critical structure, or are we misidentifying some of the critical infrastructure? I think those are the questions that come to mind. And it all comes down to budget and how much, like, if you just stretch this out to a theoretical scenario where open source office had infinite budget, this wouldn't be an issue, of course, right? Like, everything would come down it, and then there would be an expert committee, hopefully, that are capable of evaluating everything with their face value and inherent value, and make the correct decisions to say, okay, this is critical, this is not. But it seems to not be able to do it 100%. Otherwise, we wouldn't be discussing this here.
Hello, hello. Hi, Bora. Hi, Jax. Hi, Sebastian. Hi, everyone. Sorry, I'm here after a long time, look like. Quickly commenting on the last point, Bora, mentioning, and I think you made a good points, and that's the situation I also see in TSC. Like, a lot of things which I think should go through the TSC. It's like fund is withdrawn directly by entities, and TSC has hardly any control and contribution. And it's happening now more and more with OSC as well. Yeah, where the problem lies, is it with the constitution or even with us ourselves? We need to we need to think, we need to kind of analyze ourselves. One of my input, I think I asked more in education, but I also given some input earlier that our maintainer retainer program does not allow any company to be part of it, right? It's only about individual, and understand the reason and things. But for example, TX5 would like to maintain a repository and things, have a study flow, and they have different employees, but they want to have the own it overall. Even it's open source, right? But then they are just owning as a company, not as an individual. And interesting thing is that even their company, they're able to get the treasury funding, but they cannot be part of maintainer retainer program. So means we as a small funding mechanism have very tight rules compared to treasury, which allow millions of dollars to be withdrawn, and company or anyone can withdraw, right? So I find this as one potential issue. There are, of course, is not the only issue. There can be other, and marketing, I agree, being mentioned that we need to market us better, and a lot of things can be improved and need to be worked. But I just bring one of my old feedback and points. Not exactly, I think, to say that they offered to go, but we possibly, I don't remember being approached by them. We could have undertaken additional discussion. So it's not, maybe they see that maybe the other part to combine together. Our fundings are small in amount, or insignificant rather, for serious people. And secondly, yeah, we have our defined methodology. We made it enough clear in different forum that's for individuals. So yeah, I'm not sure, we kind of position ourselves enough to make these kind of the companies as a partner. When Catalyst funding was about to kind of and our development projects stopped funding, right? So to me, it was very obvious that all those development projects or development tools related, open source related things should be governed by the open source committee, and we should have had a similar budget and have a better control. But yeah, there was a different discussion that we don't have the manpower or strength to do it. So the result of that comes where we are now, I guess. Yeah, I mean, I can get your point, Tex. Not sure how much open source conflict, like open source point of view, you paying the fee to a company or individual, to me is not that critical. That its source is open, okay, and because of the controlling or contributing source, they're getting paid. We're not calling it salary either. If you pay 3,000 at a monthly salary or you're paying contribution fee, doesn't matter. But nevertheless, I mean, it does create sustainability issues, and I noticed it. I couldn't participate because of the same reason. And yeah, I mean, maybe. Yeah, go ahead.
My point is I'm trying to make sure that we as a committee do not sit here and undermine our program from the get-go, right? And this with the ecosystem as well. It basically, as a committee, if we're coming out and saying that one of the problems with the program is that we're not paying enough, that undermines the program in and of itself, because the program was designed solely to provide a minimum stipend to encourage contribution. It says we understand that working for no reward isn't going to get us anywhere. So here's some reward, but understand that we can't pay you a salary. We are not going to be another one of these development agencies or anything like that that pays for full stack devs to maintain the open source project. Now, if ADA goes to $5 or $10 at some point, right, and we can call that real or theoretical or whatever, then yes, we could see where there's some difference in what that reward looks like. Right? But at the end of the day, we're holding true to that. We are rewarding with the token. What the end user does with that token is up to them, but we're trying to instill, here's an open source project that you have a desire to maintain, right? You would, in theory, the people that we bring on or select into the maintainer retainer program would be willing to support it regardless of whether or not they're receiving a reward. But there's an option for them to receive a reward, which is why they're going through the program. That's this ideal of open source, right? When we look at where that paid open source model, it goes back to the white paper, right? It says we lost maintainers because maintainers had no funding and no motivation to keep going. So we're providing that motivation piece. In no way can we equate motivation to a full-time salary. So there's still a misunderstanding in the ecosystem, is what's becoming clear, of what is the appropriate amount to pay for XYZ work. Now, again, we're talking about maintenance, not development, which may be another thing that needs to become more clear as well. But I'm not trying to come off as harsh, but we're walking down a path that we can't come back from if that's what we make as a statement, right? There's a specific purpose for the program, and it comes back to, we understand in general open source projects get to a point to where maintainers have no compensation whatsoever. So we're going to provide a little bit of a reward to keep this going, but we're not hiring full-time devs. That's not our goal. Our goal is just to keep the project alive.
Yeah, no, Jax, it's not that I don't understand it and I'm not undermining it. I mean, the reward is small now, which is because of the ADA price going down. And you rightly say that, it goes $3-5, then this reward, without increasing anything, it become quite handsome. So that's directly thing. But I don't want to go in that side. My key point was that possibly the program would have had better traction if it was allowed also companies to, even keeping the same remuneration, or same incentive, whatever you call it, a company, but we did not do, and I think that then it couldn't attract more people to it. And I'm also talking not only maintainer retainer program. I think that we, as an open source, should be, having more fun to work on the other development project as well. And the strange thing that we don't have that kind of thing, but like the people like TX5 or many other, they can go directly Treasury and they can get it, for any purpose they feel is required. So that's the difference. I'm commenting on earlier Bora's kind of the point that like that's probably the reason for our program. So it's probably more of analysis than undermining anything. I'm not undermining anything. I think open source committee did a fantastic job and kudos to it. But yeah, probably we needed also more support. We never thought of applying higher amount, and we probably won't be able to get it possibly. So there's so many if and buts, and there has been challenges. Like the one time I was trying to talk about more kind of fun things, I think the basic problem we realized that we do not have enough bandwidth as a committee to manage so much. So these are practical challenges, and I'm not undermining anything. I agree. Things.
There's also another element that direct treasury proposals kind of pass through such committees, and then the community can evaluate it for themselves, which is detrimental sometimes, but sometimes asked for if it's about bigger budgets, right? Like if someone is asking for 10 million ADA, some people would argue that I don't want the committee in between to take such decision because I don't know if the committee itself has the correct capabilities or the correct persons in the committee to be able to evaluate if this is feasible or not. And probably the same thing also is happening here, because I also saw some of the social comments. I think that's what Tex was referring to. And so the real take was that one of the bigger open source contributors on Cardano commented that it's a middleman DAO. It's which is, I think, where the discussion went unproductive. But still, that was a remark. So it's the decisions with a budget is given to a committee, and people might also be questioning: hey, Bora is sitting on that committee. I don't trust him. I wouldn't trust him with the budget as well, right? They can say.
Yeah, but I agree. There will be challenges and questions. There will be feedback. Different people, different thoughts. Agree on all those things. I mean, my perspective was slightly different. Always like, if it is TSC, Technical Steering Committee, we call it, they should be steering all the technology of the Cardano, right? If it is open source committee, it should be handling all aspects of the open source of Cardano. If we are not doing or living most of the things and just doing 1% or small percentage of that, then it's diluting the meaning of these committees and things like that. So it's a broader point. But I know that it's not everything in our control. We have this kind of different constitutional situations. So we are discussing only, I would say, only commenting one of that company versus individual is one of my old point, which I asked more as a question, and later on I made a suggestion. But apart from this, on this broader point, I say, yeah, I mean, there are the different challenges, and if they don't see, then of course, they are undermining us, the committee that why we have in first place the committee open source, that become question. So yeah, it's tough in that sense.
So I'll pick it back up from here. Let's definitely look at some time for another conversation to go a little bit deeper into this. Obviously, I don't think anything will be happening right away. But I'll move on the agenda real quick. And because we only have a few minutes left, did anybody have questions on any of the updates for the current maintainer retainer program provided so far? And for anyone who may have arrived late, we have 20 people who have been selected and will be enrolled in that program by next week. So that is our program management to handle over the next 12 months. The last piece here, if we can, we'll just try to do this in meeting. I'd rather not go to Discord if we can avoid it. I don't know that there's much to do here, but I've shared the proposed statement of work for CTL. We may still have Ben and Luke here if you guys have any questions, but are there any questions
I'm
on
here.
the statement of work? Or is that something that we can get signed in any capacity and get funding rolling for them?
Lambda Buffer's SOW is also coming soon.
If there are no questions, maybe we can have committee members simply raise their hands, or I can put a vote here in the polls.
I
Whichever
would
y'all.
rather not do a public vote in front of vendor.
Yeah, that's fine.
I don't think there's any risk here, Bora, because it's already been approved. It's just a matter of whether or not you approve of the statement of work, what they said they're going to do. But the funding for this specific tooling initiative has already been approved by the committee previously.
What's the exact sign off on then?
The statement of work that was shared in the Discord earlier this week.
Yeah. So if the budget was approved, what was it based on a unapproved statement of work, or?
The statement of work is not a requirement for the funding application. It can be in the future, but it is not currently.
This is also true of like 2026 budget proposals that are facilitated by Intersect. Is we don't have the SOW up front. We provide milestones, or we provide broad information in the application.
Yeah, that's what I also remember, that we approved it, but thank you, Tex, for clarifying that this is the SOW approval, so should be fine. I think I had looked at it, looks all right. I'm good to approve. Budget is approved, so I think we have, it's one of the two, I mean, among many that like we approved only few of them, and I think this was one of the front runner, if I remember so.
Sebastian, Michak, Paul, Reshma.
No, I'm agree. We have to push it forward. This is a task that is dated from last week, right? So maybe everybody here had enough time to read the document and other stuff. So from my side, I'm agree. We have to approve this. Give a vote in immediately or as soon as possible.
Okay. I'm seeing agreement from more than 6, I think at least 7 of the committee members here. So we will consider this moving forward then, and I'll get this processed on the back end. Anything else in the last 2 minutes? Luke, you got a question there?
Okay, sorry about that. I wasn't on the screen to accept the invite. But I just want to clarify next steps. So you had a note that the fees do not include the Intersect amounts, so I need to lower it down to 30,000 and then take the fees from there. And then the next steps will be that they will be signed on the Intersect side, the 2025 template, and then that will be completely certified or what have you. Is that clear on the next steps, or is there anything else I'm missing there? Do I need to, for example, do the 2026 template?
I don't know that there's much of a difference between the two. The 2025 template is fine as you have it. Again, clarifying, there are no additional fees applied to tooling funding here. This does not operate like Treasury funding in the sense that the Treasury funds were already awarded to the OSC. If there were fees, it would be the responsibility of OSC. We're not being charged fees by Intersect. So whatever you've been approved for or requested, in this case, I believe it was the 30,000, you would receive the 30,000 between upfront and the milestones as you've enumerated in the
Oh, okay, I understand that now. So does that also include the USDCX option there? Is that also available?
USDCX is available for 2026, not for
Yeah.
2025 funding.
Okay, so this will be
I
A
wouldn't
then.
worry about that, Luke. I think that email was in fact about our 2026 milestones, 2026 proposals. So,
Okay.
but also our administration is leaning heavily towards going with ADA instead of USDCX anyway, in
Okay.
part because there's absolutely no control for slippage, and there just isn't that kind of stablecoin liquidity on Cardano.
Okay, understood. Thank you. That's all.
All right. I will close out this meeting here for now. See you all in the Discord. I do want to try to get some off-cycle meetings going. So if you guys have other availability during the week that's to open source committee members, please let me know. That way we can get some other sessions set up in terms of budget, maintain a retainer, so we can deep dive into those programs. Thanks so much.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.